Family, hear me today. When God puts his hand on someone's life, no enemy can touch what he covers. You can be overlooked by people, underestimated by critics, and even plotted against by those who think they know your downfall. But if God has hidden you, their eyes will see only what he allows. His covering is not a suggestion, it is a shield. And when he says, "This one is mine, no weapon formed against you will prosper." Now let's walk through the signs that reveal when God has hidden her from enemies. When God hides a woman, he gives her the wisdom to remain silent in moments when others expect her to react. Enemies may throw stones, but her peace disarms their attacks. Her restraint becomes her strength. She doesn't need to answer every critic because heaven itself testifies on her behalf. There's something about her that makes evil restless. Not because she boasts or threatens, but because the Spirit of God radiates from her life. Wherever she goes, light exposes lies and chains begin to shake. That unsettling presence is God's evidence that she cannot be touched by the traps set against her. When God hides her, opportunities that seem blocked are really barricades for her protection. The enemy may think he's locking her out, but in reality, God is locking the enemy out. What looks like a setback is actually a divine shield guarding her destiny. The world may think she's forgotten, but God uses the hidden place to strengthen her. While her enemies are watching for public failure, she is growing in private victory. She emerges stronger, wiser, and equipped because God allowed her roots to go deep where eyes could not see. Yes, she faces trials. Yes, storms rage. But watch closely, her spirit remains unshaken. The enemy throws fire, but instead of burning her, it refines her. Instead of breaking her, it builds her. The fact that she is still standing is the loudest announcement that she has been hidden under divine protection. Enemies whisper she should have given up by now, but she rises again and again. What they don't understand is that she's not running on her own strength. She's powered by a source unseen. That confusion is proof she's covered. They can't figure her out because she's not theirs to figure out. Sometimes the promise takes longer than expected, and enemies mock the waiting. But God's timing is always deliberate. He hides her until the moment is ripe, ensuring that no one else can take credit for a breakthrough. Delay is protection, not rejection. When the appointed time comes, she rises from the shadows with undeniable favor. Every plot crumbles, every tongue is silenced, and every trap is exposed. Her victory doesn't just elevate her, it testifies to the power of the God who shielded her all along. So hear this. If God has hidden her, it's not punishment, it's preservation. It's not delay, it's destiny. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. Now is the time to stop fearing the eyes of your enemies. Stop worrying about who's watching and who's whispering. Start walking with confidence that the covering of God is stronger than the schemes of men. Rise up, live boldly, step forward, knowing you are hidden under the shadow of the Almighty. And when God brings you out, no enemy will ever be able to deny the glory he placed on your life. When God places his covering over your life, there is no strategy, no scheme, no weapon, and no power strong enough to undo what he has decreed. Think about it. People may gather in secret whispering about your downfall, but they cannot stop the one whom heaven has chosen to protect. This covering is not made of fragile material. It is divine, unshakable, and indestructible. You may walk through storms, but the storm cannot consume you. You may pass through fire, but the fire cannot burn you. That's the power of a God who covers. And here is the hook. When you are covered, you become untouchable in ways your enemies will never understand. They think their weapons are sharp, but they discover their swords turn dull when they strike against you. They think their traps are clever, but somehow you always step around them unharmed. That's not coincidence. It's divine covering. Imagine for a moment how many unseen battles you've already been spared from. How many times did the enemy set something up, only for God to shift circumstances before you even knew there was danger? How many conversations were held behind closed doors with your name on them, and yet not a single plan succeeded. That is not luck. That is the sovereign hand of God keeping his promise to shield you. The covering of God is greater than the plotting of people. Hooks like this should awaken your spirit. Every stone thrown against you will ricochet back. Every weapon raised will fail. Every word spoken in darkness will dissolve before it touches you. The enemy is persistent. He studies your patterns, he studies your weaknesses, and he searches for openings. But when God covers you, those openings are sealed. That means the arrows lose their aim, the fire loses its flame, and the schemes collapse before they even launch. The very fact that you are still standing today is proof that his covering is real. Because if the plots of your enemies had worked, you wouldn't even be here. If the weapons of the adversary had hit their target, you would have been destroyed long ago. But here you are, alive, strong, pressing forward because God has kept you hidden under his shield. Now let this sink in. God doesn't need your enemies to agree with your destiny. He doesn't require their permission to bless you. They can gather all they want, but their gathering is powerless against his protection. Scripture tells us that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. It doesn't say the weapons won't be formed. They will. It doesn't say the plots won't exist. They will. But what it does promise is that those plots will fail. Those weapons will malfunction, and those enemies will stumble when they come against a person who carries divine covering. That's a hook worth holding on to. Formed but failed, designed but defeated, aimed but aborted. Think about David when Saul plotted against him. Time after time, the king tried to kill him. Spears were thrown, armies were sent, traps were laid. But David remained untouchable until God's appointed time. Why? Because God had already placed his covering over David's destiny. What God decrees cannot be undone by human hands. That's the same covering working in your life. Your enemies may look bigger, their words may sound louder, their numbers may seem greater, but none of that can compete with the hand of God that shields you. So the next time you sense opposition, remember this. They may see you, but they cannot touch you. They may plan against you, but they cannot prosper against you. They may rise up, but they cannot win, because the covering of God is always greater than the plotting of men. Every time they think you're finished, you'll rise again. Every time they think they've cornered you, you'll slip out untouched. Every time they think the story is over, you'll turn the page and step into a new chapter written by the one who holds your life in his hands. There is a unique strength in silence that many underestimate. In a world where everyone wants to have the last word, when God has hidden you under his protection, he gives you the wisdom to know that silence can be louder than any argument. Your enemies expect you to fight back with noise, to respond with anger, to prove your worth with words. But when you choose silence, it confuses them, because silence declares that you don't need to fight battles that are already won. That quiet confidence sends a message. I am covered and I don't need to defend what God has already secured. That's the hook. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. Silence doesn't mean you're losing. It means you've already won on a higher level. Think about how powerful it is to let your actions, your peace, and your results speak louder than any comeback ever could. Your silence exposes their noise for what it really is, empty, powerless, desperate. When you remain still, your enemies realize that their words are bouncing off a shield they cannot penetrate. They grow frustrated because the reaction they wanted never arrives. They wanted you rattled, but you stand calm. They wanted you broken, but you remain whole. They wanted you enraged, but you smile with unshaken peace. Silence disarms every attack because it shifts the power away from the hands of your enemies. And here's another hook. Silence is not about ignoring the battle. It's about recognizing the real fighter. When you hold your tongue, you are saying, this is not my fight, this is God's fight. And when he steps into the battlefield, victory is guaranteed. Your enemies can shout louder, plot harder, and press stronger, but none of that changes the fact that the one fighting for you is greater than all of them combined. Your silence becomes a weapon because it hands the microphone over to heaven. Consider how silence often carries more weight than speech. In a heated argument, the loudest voice doesn't always win. It's the one who remains composed, who chooses not to be dragged into chaos, who leaves the greatest impact. Silence shows control, and control reveals strength. That's why silence is such a powerful shield. It protects you from wasting energy on battles that don't deserve your attention. It keeps you aligned with the bigger picture while your enemies waste their breath trying to provoke a reaction you'll never give. Think about Jesus before his accusers. They hurled lies, mocked him, tried to force a response. But he remained silent. That silence was not defeat. It was dignity, authority, commentary, and divine strategy. He didn't need to convince anyone because the truth was already established. That same spirit rests on you when God hides you. You don't need to shout back. Your silence speaks volumes. You don't need to explain yourself. Your silence proves you are unshaken. The beauty of silence is that it lets God's voice echo louder. While your enemies waste time throwing words, God is writing your story in ways that silence every tongue raised against you. Sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all. And here's the hook. You may look quiet, but heaven is roaring on your behalf. You may look still, but the earth is shifting under your enemy's feet. You may say nothing, but your life, your peace, your progress is shouting louder than any reply you could ever give. Your silence keeps your enemies guessing. They can't predict you because you don't respond the way they expect. They can't trap you with words because you don't engage on their level. They can't measure your strength because it doesn't come through volume, it comes through stillness. And that stillness is a force stronger than their noise. When God allows a season of hiddenness, it's not because he has forgotten you, it's because he is fortifying you. Hidden seasons are not wasted seasons. They are seasons of preparation, construction, and transformation. The world may not see what is happening, but underneath the surface, God is doing his deepest work. While your enemies are watching for a public collapse, God is building a private foundation. And here is the hook. Roots grow deep in the dark. What no eye can see is what sustains you when the storm comes. The hidden place is not punishment, it is preparation. There is a divine wisdom in being concealed from the spotlight until the right time. If fruit appears too soon, it spoils. If strength is demanded before it matures, it collapses. God hides you because he is perfecting something within you that enemies cannot touch. They may be waiting to laugh at your downfall, but God has locked you in his workshop, chiseling away weaknesses, sharpening your spirit, and enlarging your capacity. The hidden season is a gift disguised as silence. The hook here is powerful. While others think you're stuck, heaven knows you're being shaped. Look at how nature reveals this truth. A seed spends more time underground than it does above ground. Before it ever breaks through the soil, it is expanding, strengthening, and anchoring itself in the unseen. If someone walked by, they might think nothing was happening. But in reality, everything was happening. And when that seed finally emerges, it's not fragile, it's unstoppable. That's what God is doing with you in hidden seasons. The reason your enemies can't find you is because God has buried you in a place where his hand alone can reach you. That concealment is your protection and your power. Sometimes hidden seasons feel lonely. You see others being celebrated, elevated, and noticed. While you're in a corner, nobody recognizes. But that's the beauty of it. God knows that premature exposure can be more dangerous than enemies. If you're revealed too soon, the pressure can break you. But if you are hidden long enough, by the time you emerge, nothing can destroy you. That's a hook you need to grasp. The longer the hidden season, the greater the glory of the unveiling. Think of Moses. For 40 years he was hidden in the desert, unknown, unseen, uncelebrated. But when God finally revealed him, he wasn't just another man. He was a deliverer. Think of Joseph. Years in prison, overlooked and forgotten, yet in the hidden place, God was positioning him for the palace. These stories teach us that the hidden seasons are where destiny is carved and character is forged. The waiting room of obscurity is not wasted. It's sacred ground where God equips you for assignments your enemies can't even imagine. Another hook is this: what you build in silence becomes unshakable in the storm. Skills honed in private become weapons in public. Faith refined in darkness shines brighter in light. Patience learned in hiddenness becomes endurance when pressure comes. That's why you cannot despise hidden seasons. What you gain in them is not visible, but it is invaluable. Enemies may misinterpret your silence as defeat, but little do they know that God is sculpting your victory behind closed doors. While they assume you're inactive, you're actually being upgraded. While they think you're stuck, you're being stored. While they whisper that you're forgotten, God is whispering destiny into your spirit. The hidden place is a fortress where the enemy cannot reach you, a sanctuary where God alone has access to your process. The truth is, when God finally reveals you, it won't be on their timetable, it won't be through their approval, and it won't be because of their permission. Your unveiling will be so radiant, so undeniable, that even your enemies will have to admit that only God could have brought you out like that. There are moments in life when doors slam shut in your face, and your first thought is to question yourself. Did I miss an opportunity? Did I do something wrong? Did I fail? But when God is in control, a closed door is never rejection. It is redirection. It is divine protection wrapped in disappointment. What looks like denial is often a shield from something you could not see. And that's the hook. Sometimes the door that didn't open was never meant to, because what was on the other side could have destroyed you. God loves you too much to let you walk into a place that would wound your destiny. The truth is, closed doors are not enemies. They are guardians. You might have begged for that opportunity, prayed for that relationship, or longed for that position, but God in his wisdom said no, not because he wanted to punish you, but because he wanted to preserve you. And here's the hook. The no today is actually protecting the yes of tomorrow. Closed doors are proof that God sees further than you do, and his vision spares you from what your sight cannot detect. Think about how many people walked through doors that were never meant for them and ended up scarred, broken, or delayed. Yet here you are, safe, because God blocked something before it blocked you. What you thought was rejection was actually divine interception. That job that didn't hire you, that contract that didn't go through, that relationship that ended, every one of those moments was a door closed not to hurt you, but to help you. That's the hook. Closed doors are God's way of saying, I've got better, I've got greater, I've got safer. Consider Paul in the New Testament. He wanted to preach in certain regions, but the Spirit of God shut the door. Why? Because the timing wasn't right and the location wasn't aligned with God's plan. Later, that closed door led him to Macedonia, where a greater assignment was waiting. Sometimes what feels like delay is actually direction. God is rerouting you to a place where your impact will multiply. Closed doors are not endings. They are detours toward destiny. When a door closes, your enemies may laugh. They may say, see, she didn't make it. He failed again. But what they don't realize is that the same door they mocked you for missing was the very door God kept shut so that no harm would touch you. They don't know that behind the scenes, God was saying, not this one, not yet, not here. That's the hook. Their laughter is proof. They don't know what God knows. Closed doors also teach trust. It's easy to trust God when doors are swinging wide open, but faith is proven when you can worship even while staring at a locked door. When you can say, God, I don't understand this, but I still believe you're working for me. That is faith at its purest. Closed doors stretch your trust muscles, making you stronger for the moment when the right door bursts open. And here's something to hold on to when God closes one door. It's only because he has already prepared another. But unlike the one you thought you wanted, the door he chooses will not require you to shrink yourself, compromise your values, or risk your destiny. His doors are designed for your growth, your peace, and your calling. That's the hook. The right door doesn't just open, it fits. So when you encounter a closed door, don't waste time banging against it, trying to force it open. What is forced is rarely fruitful. Instead, trust that the God who holds the keys knows which ones to turn and which ones to keep locked. Every closed door is part of a bigger story, a strategy written by the author who sees the beginning and the end. There is something unexplainable about the woman or man who has walked through battles and yet comes out with their spirit still intact. You see, when God has hidden you under his covering, The battles may bruise your body, they may test your mind, they may shake your environment, but they cannot break your spirit. That's the hook. The evidence of God's protection is not that you never face storms, but that storms never consume you. Others look at you and wonder, how are they still standing? And the answer is simple. It's not you, it's the strength of the one holding you together. Every battle you faced was designed to destroy something in you. The enemy doesn't just want to inconvenience you, he wants to break your faith, your hope, your courage. He wants to strip you of joy, crush your resilience, and silence your testimony. But here you are, still breathing, still believing, still pressing forward. That survival is not ordinary, it is supernatural. That's the hook. You're not just a survivor, you're proof that divine power keeps you in ways human strength never could. Think about the fire that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego walked through. The flames were real, the heat was intense, but when they came out, not even the smell of smoke was on them. That's what happens when God hides you in his strength. The battle might be real, the pain might be real, but the breaking never happens because you are covered. You might bend under pressure, but you will not break. You might cry in the midnight hour, but you will not collapse. Sometimes people around you wonder how you smile after everything you've endured. They don't know the tears you've cried in private. They don't know the weight you've carried in silence. But they also don't know the grace that has been carrying you. And here's the hook. What breaks others builds you. What crushes others crowns you. What wounds others strengthens you. Every scar you carry is not evidence of defeat. It is evidence of survival. The resilience you carry is not natural. It is forged in battle. Each trial has trained you. Each storm has refined you. Each disappointment has deepened you. While others only see the scars, God sees the strength those scars represent. Your spirit remains unbroken because you are fueled by a source greater than yourself. When others would have quit, you kept moving. When others would have lost faith, you kept trusting. That endurance is proof of divine protection. The beauty of resilience is that it confuses your enemies. They expected you to fold. They expected you to quit. They expected you to crumble. But you came back stronger, wiser, sharper. That confusion is their frustration. They cannot understand how many times you've been knocked down and yet you rise again. That's the hook. You are their unanswered question, their unsolved puzzle, their proof that God's hand is on you. Your battles may leave marks, but those marks become your message. They are reminders of where you've been and proof of how far you've come. They are not signs of defeat. They are medals of endurance. Every time you look at what you've overcome, you should remind yourself that resilience is not your achievement. It is God's gift. He never allowed the battle to break you because he already planned for the victory to shape you. This is why your spirit remains whole even when everything else feels shattered. You may have lost things, people, opportunities, but you didn't lose the essence of who you are. That essence is untouchable because it is protected. That's the hook. The enemy can take your possessions, but he cannot take your purpose. He can attack your surroundings, but he cannot attack your soul. He can throw fire, but he cannot extinguish the flame inside you. People will often look at your life and scratch their heads because nothing about your resilience makes sense. By all logic, you should have given up a long time ago. By their calculations, the setback should have drained you, the betrayal should have silenced you, the storm should have sunk you, and yet here you are, still moving forward, still carrying faith, still refusing to let life bury you. That's the hook. Your resilience is not ordinary, it's supernatural. It's not about how strong you are, but about how strong your God is within you. Enemies study you. They watch how many times you've been hit and expect you to stay down. They whisper, this time it's over. But every time you rise again, and that rising confuses them, they can't explain it. They can't predict it. They can't stop it. Because what keeps you moving is not human strength. It's divine empowerment. That's the hook. Resilience makes you unpredictable to your enemies because you are powered by a source they cannot see. The world understands resilience as toughness, but divine resilience is different. It's not just about gritting your teeth and pushing through. It's about a quiet, unshakable strength that flows from knowing you are covered. When you rise after being knocked down, it's not stubbornness, it's faith. When you keep walking with wounds, it's not denial, it's trust. When you refuse to quit, it's not pride, it's destiny. Your resilience is the evidence that what surrounds you does not control what sustains you. Think about Job. He lost everything: family, health, wealth, reputation. His friends mocked him. His wife told him to curse God and die. By all appearances, his story should have ended in ashes. But Job held on. He refused to surrender his faith. And in the end, what God restored was greater than what he lost. That's the pattern. Resilience is not about avoiding loss. It's about outlasting loss. That's the hook. You may lose things, but you never lose yourself when you're anchored in God. Resilience also exposes the weakness of your enemy's attacks. They throw everything at you, but the fact that you keep standing tells them their weapons are failing. Their frustration grows because your survival ruins their narrative. They told others you were finished, but you're still here. They predicted your collapse, but you're still standing tall. That's the hook. Your resilience is a public announcement that God's covering is stronger than their plotting. It's not just about bouncing back from big crises either. Resilience shows up in the small daily decisions. It's in waking up one more day when yesterday drained you. It's in choosing faith over fear when fear feels easier. It's in choosing to smile when tears are pressing behind your eyes. These little moments of endurance build into a life that cannot be broken. And when people see it, they can't figure out how you do it. What they don't realize is that you're not doing it, you're being carried. The beauty of resilience is that it becomes your testimony without you even saying a word. People look at your life and see strength where there should be weakness, joy where there should be despair, hope where there should be hopelessness. Your resilience becomes a mirror reflecting God's power in you. That's the hook. Your life itself becomes a sermon, not spoken with words, but written in endurance. Every time you bounce back, it creates confusion in the camp of the enemy. They ask how, why, where does the strength come from? And the answer is clear. It comes from the one who refuses to let you go. Resilience is not the absence of struggle. It is the presence of a God who turns struggle into strength. And when people see it, they are left with no explanation except this: you are hidden, you are covered, you are sustained.